Now, occasionally there are players who can stir the imagination through tales so outrageous a reputation is enhanced, even if those claims are met with a bit of skepticism. Now, take the case of a certain hero from the heartland. Listed at 6'8" and 218 pounds of muscle, George McGinnis of Indianapolis was a Parade magazine high school All-American in both football and basketball. They say George once cut to the basket so hard that his shoe exploded. I can't speak to the shoe business directly, but it's undeniable that George McGinnis scored 2,075 points and grabbed 1,638 rebounds in high school, breaking the Indiana state records held by a guy by the name of Oscar Robertson. And by the way, those numbers still stand today. And that was only the beginning.
In a time defined by freedom of expression, when professional basketball was celebrated for its fashion and finesse, George McGinnis played with purpose and power.
George McGinnis wants to take it all the way.
George McGinnis was a physical force.
Here he comes, George McGinnis for Indiana.
George was built like Superman.
McGinnis is so big.
Like a locomotive.
McGinnis.
Big, fierce, fast, strong.
I used to be very small, if you can believe that.
George McGinnis was already larger than life in the state of Indiana by the time he debuted for the ABA's Pacers. He had led Washington High School in Indianapolis to an undefeated season and a state championship. In his lone season at Indiana University, McGinnis the Magnificent topped the Big Ten in both scoring and rebounding.
Who's your favorite player on the Pacers?
George McGinnis.
What do you like about Big George?
Everything.
But there was one part of his repertoire that became a signature move.
One-hand jumper.
McGinnis with the one-hander.
He got it out of here. He got it way up here.
Very unusual shot, very effective one.
It wasn't the prettiest thing you've ever seen, but it sure went in the basket a lot.
He handles that ball like a peanut.
That was his own shot. What he could do with that basketball was special.
He could post up. He could break you down one-on-one. He could make the three ball. Add to it a great passer. He was sensational.
George McGinnis was an all-star in 3 of his 4 seasons in the ABA and was named most valuable player in the league in 1975. But his measure of success was not linked to any individual acclaim.
When I go out on the court, there's only one thing that can really turn me on, and that's winning.
McGinnis and the Pacers won a pair of championships in his first 2 seasons in the league, helping Indiana to cement its legacy as the ABA's most successful team.
He was the best player on the Pacer team. There ain't no question. George was the focal point.
McGinnis was the league's top scorer while leading the Pacers to the 1975 ABA Finals. Following that campaign, and in search of new challenges, George signed with the Philadelphia 76ers of the NBA.
He immediately transformed Philadelphia into a winner. They went from cellar dwellers to a playoff team. Then when I joined the next year, we had the best record in the league and went to the finals.
He continued to be an unstoppable force in the new league, leaving countless overmatched defenders in his wake. While stats, accomplishments, and accolades unquestionably put him in elite company, it was his overpowering style of play that made George McGinnis the prototype of the modern NBA forward.
Until LeBron came along, I never saw another guy that had George's physical abilities on a basketball court.
I've seen everything that's come down the pike in 60-plus years. We're sitting here talking about one of the greatest power forwards that ever played the game.
Welcoming George to the Hall of Fame are Bobby Slick Leonard, Reggie Miller, Spencer Haywood, Artis Gilmore, and Rick Barry.
Thank you so much. Coach, that was a way to bring a crowd, man. That was unbelievable. Great job. First of all, I want to say good evening, and I want to thank God for every blessing He's given me, especially the one this evening. I would like to thank the Hall of Fame and the Veterans Committee for this honor. I'd also like to congratulate the 2017 inductees. I'm honored to be a member of their team. My story begins with my mother and father, Bernie and Willie McGinnis. They migrated to Indiana from Hoppersville, Alabama, looking for a better opportunity for their family. That turned out to be one of the best things that ever happened to me, because it's hard growing up in Indiana and not falling in love with the game of basketball. The year was 1956. I was 6 years old. Two events would change my life forever. We had our first television set, and I got to watch the nation's first all-black team compete for Indiana High School State Championship. That night, I was introduced to a young man who became not only my hero, but for every kid in our community's hero. His name was Oscar Palmer Robinson, the Big O. He played for Crispus Attucks High School, and he won the state championship for the second time in 1956. The 1956 team was the first team to go undefeated and win a championship since that tournament began in 1911. And I can't tell you the pride we felt in our community. The next day was a Sunday. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. The next day was a Sunday, and it seems as though every boy in our neighborhood was out shooting buckets. We all wanted to be like the Big O. Oscar couldn't be here tonight, but he inspired me as well as many others in our state to play this game, and I want to thank him for that. 13 years later, in 1969, I was part of the second team in Indiana high school history to go undefeated and win a state championship, George Washington High School. 3 guys on my high school team played professional ball. Steve Downing, who went on to IU and became an All-American and was the first draft pick of the Boston Celtics. Wayne Pack, who's here tonight, played for the Pacers and in Italy, were a part of our starting lineup along with a kid named Jim Arnold and Louis Day. I was very fortunate to be named Mr. Basketball that year in 1969, and we fielded an all-star team of our best seniors from Indiana against a team from Kentucky. It's a game that's been going on for a lot of years. We played 2 games, one in Indiana and one in Kentucky. The first game, I had 23 points and 14 rebounds. I didn't think that was too bad, but one of the Kentucky players was not very impressed with the game I had or me. So I didn't want to leave a bad impression on him, so the next week I had 53 points and 30 rebounds. I rode back to Indianapolis with my parents, and my dad, man, he came looking for a better life. He was such a hard-working guy. He didn't get to see a lot of my games. He worked construction during the day and a factory during the night. But that night, he told me how proud he was of me. One of the few times he ever told me that. And that was one of the best feelings I ever had. But tragically, 9 days later, he was killed in a construction accident. That All-Star game was the last game he saw me play. So maybe it was God's will that I had the game that I did. I'm so glad that I did have that game. I was honored to attend the great University of Indiana and to play for Coach Lou Watson. May he rest in peace. I became the first sophomore in Big Ten history to lead the league in scoring and rebounding. I enjoyed my time there, but our family was struggling financially. My mother and I had a chance to sign with the Indiana Pacers. I did. I took all of my $15,000 signing bonus and put it down on a down payment on my mother's house that she still lives in to this day. Yeah. Yeah. And so that leads me to you, Spencer Haywood. You were a big reason why I was able to do that. As a junior in high school, we watched you lead that 1968 Olympic team, and it was incredible. We had never seen anything like you, my man. And with you, and after your sophomore year of college, after that incredible performance at the Olympics, you spent your sophomore year of college, and then you joined the Denver Rockets in the old ABA. 2 years later, I followed your path, and I signed with the Indiana Pacers after my sophomore year. You opened the door not only for me, but for many others, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate your trailblazing ways. You're a good man. Thank you. Yes. And what can I say about this next guy? He's been like a father to me ever since I lost my father. Coach Bobby Slick Leonard. We just call him Slick. I couldn't have picked a better team to have gone to than the Pacers to start off my professional career. There were 3 future Hall of Famers waiting on me, and Mel Daniels and Roger Brown, and may they rest in peace, and you, Slick. And other great players, Freddie Lewis, Bob Nedelicki, Billy Knight, Darnell, Dr. Dunk Hillman, and Billy, and that was it, I guess. Well, Slick, you've been like a father figure to me, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate, man, everything you've done for me. You have been my best friend. I can come and talk to you during good times and bad times. You've always given me good information. I love you for that. Thank you. You know, Slick always had a sense of community. He instilled it in all of his players. So I'll never forget my rookie year. The first meeting we had, he called the meeting and he said, "Look, I don't care how good any of you think you are, and how good you might be." He said, "But you're nothing until you do something for somebody else." I've never forgotten that. And like my real father, Slick, you taught all of us to be tough, but you also taught us to be compassionate. And I appreciate you doing that. Thank you. Rick Barry. First game he played against the Pacers, he got 51. We called him the Professor because, there wasn't anything that he couldn't do. We won an ABA championship my rookie season. Rick got hurt. We played Rick in the finals, and Rick got hurt. Fortunately for us, and we were able to win that series. But just being on the same court with you, Rick, was such an honor. You were such an incredible player, and you did everything extremely well. Even if I fouled you, you didn't miss any shots, for crying out loud. It was sickening to have to try and guard this guy. He gave you a lesson in playing the forward position. And I don't think he realizes how much influence he had on the game and me, and how much it meant to me. I certainly appreciate you being here, Rick, and standing here. I appreciate all the support that you've given me throughout the years. Thank you. The Big A, Artis Gilmore. We won an ABA championship. We won an ABA championship in my second year, the next year, and then we played the Kentucky Colonels in the finals of that championship series. And I was fortunate to be named MVP. But Artis was as dominant a player as we had in our league, and probably as nice a guy as we've had in our league. So 2 years later, we met him again in the finals, but this time the Colonels won, and we were beaten, and Artis was voted MVP. I'm so proud, Artis, to be able to share with you this honor, and I'll be ever thankful that I didn't have to guard you. Yeah. My 1975 journey took me to the city of brotherly love. Me and my wife really grew up there and fell in love with the city. I played 3 seasons. We made the playoffs each of the 3 seasons I was there. I was an all-star 2 of the 3 seasons. And again, I was an all-star in Denver after I was traded, but suffered an Achilles tear, and I was really never the same player after that. But I was able to finish my career with the Pacers back in Indianapolis, where it all began for me. And that brings me to Sir Reggie Miller. Reggie, man, I don't know what to, you bring so much heart and passion to the game. You were such a winner. Although Roger, Mel, and Slick and I are part of the Pacers Foundation, you raised the roof, you blew it off, man. You've done more for the Pacer organization than any player that's ever played or wore that uniform. And I can't tell you how honored I am to have you standing with me tonight. You're absolutely the best. You walk around Indianapolis, and now half the boys are either named Reggie or Peyton. It's unbelievable. September 10th, 1977, I married my wife. I've been knowing her ever since I was 5 years old. We went to the same elementary school, same junior high, same high school. She's been my best friend. I can't tell you, Linda, how much I love you, and I appreciate you every single day. I would also like to thank my mother, Willie, who's been a rock in my life. She's 90 years old about 5 days ago. She couldn't make the trip. My sister, Bonnie, who's at home having a hospital operation on her back, which I'm going to get when I get back home. And my son, Tony, and his wife, Tina. My grandson, Dane, and other family members who took the time to come up here. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And I also like to thank, finally, the Indiana Pacer organization, who have been so supportive of me and have been incredibly generous to me. So, again, thank you. I also like to thank my 6th and 7th grade coach, Cliff Robinson. Cliff was a student trainer on all those great Addicts teams in the early 50s, 51, 52. He ended up being the first black trainer in an NFL in 1957 with the Chicago Bears. My 8th grade coach, Joe Mason, may he rest in peace. My high school coach, Jerry Oliver, Bill Green, who has won more state championships than any coach in Indiana high school history, 6 of them. And I would also like to thank all the fans who supported me throughout the years, but most of all, thank you, basketball. Thank you.
Bad man, boy.